Hey y'all, hey. So I am back with the fourth and last part of the video series that I've been talking to you all about in terms of root causes of behavior. So in video 1, we talked about attention-seeking behavior. In video 2, we talked about escape avoidance behavior. In video 3, we talked about access to tangibles. And today we're talking about sensory stimulation. And we're going to talk about that in 2 parts. We're going to talk about it in sensory seeking and sensory avoidance. So what is sensory? Sensory is anything having to do with our senses, right? So it's having to do with our eyesight, with our hearing, with, and so that could be lighting, that could be anything having to do with our senses and kind of regulating our central nervous system. And so if you have a child, oftentimes you will see this in children that have autism, but it could be in children who have ADHD. It could be in typically developing children too that have some sensitivities or some sensory types of struggles. And so when we talk about sensory seeking behavior, we're talking about those behaviors in which a student is using sensory type things to help regulate. So it could be rocking. So maybe they're in an environment and it is loud and it's overwhelming, and so they rock to kind of calm and regulate their nervous system. Something else that they might do is put their hands over their ears if it's too noisy to regulate the sound. And then sensory avoidance behavior is just kind of like the opposite, right? It's putting the hands over their ears. It's needing to turn the lights down or be in rooms that have dim lighting. I was working with a student a couple of months ago, and we were in a classroom setting, and so he had turned his whole self in the opposite direction of us standing at the front teaching and things like that, and he had turned his whole self around. He sat Indian style, and he was doing this, right? He was well, at the time I was like, "Are you meditating? What are you doing?" So I called him outside the room and I said, "What's happening? What are you doing?" And he was like, it's too much. It's too much going on in here. I just need a few minutes. Can we go down the hallway in the room where it's quiet? So I said, sure, right? And so he was needing to escape all of that sensory input that was coming into him, and so he just needed a few minutes of calm. And so those are things that you may experience with your kids, and you're wondering like, what is happening? And so they may act out because they are either sensory avoiding. So for this student, he was being disruptive, like he just was completely turned around, and I think he was maybe making some noises, but he was doing that not because he was trying to be disruptive, but really because he was in overload and he was trying to regulate himself. And so a function of that was he was being disruptive. And so once I got him alone, we were able to discuss, and he was able to state what he needed. Now, of course, this was an older student, and this may not always occur. So if you have younger students, these are things to look for if the student is, if you start to see, different kinds of behavior. So if you see the rocking, then you know that, the student may be trying to calm themselves, or if they have their hands over their ears, they may be trying to regulate the noise input that's coming in. And so one of the things that you can do is give them some headphones or take them outside of the room. So I hope this 4-part series on the root causes of behavior have been helpful. If you need more information, my information will be in the description box below. And yeah, until next time.